This episode of the podcast is sponsored by David Shapiro Remax Around Atlanta Realty. David Shapiro Remax Around Atlanta Realty. One of the best realtors in the game. Knows Uptown. He knows Downtown. And you guessed it. He definitely knows Clowntown. David Shapiro Remax Around Atlanta Realty. Tash, who the hell do we have on today?
We have Liz Lawrence, amazing artist. Has a new album out called The Avalanche. Listen to the podcast to learn more.
Roll the motherfucking tape.
All right, welcome back. It's 2022, first episode of the year. We are joined by Liz Lawrence. Liz, how's it going today?
Hello, I'm very well. We've had a very beautiful day here in England. So,
who would have thought that it's beautiful in England and we've got the nastiest snowy weather here in Atlanta? Well, let's start, right at the beginning. Always am interested to see, we're obviously big fans of your music, but who are you a big fan of? Who are some of your influences?
Recently I've been listening to a lot of Kate Le Bon. It's kind of a recent discovery for me, but I just can't stop kind of trying to deconstruct how she's working at the moment. I think she's amazing. I think there's something so kind of bold about what she's doing, but I think she sort of reminds me a bit of like David Byrne as well in the way that she seems to approach the work. So I guess those are two pretty good heroes to start with.
Right. Yeah. And how does that, how do you think that shows up throughout your music? Whether it's always been there or if it's something new that's you're starting to see maybe influencing your sound?
I guess it's less about kind of genre or kind of the final product for me. It's more about like ethos and approach and kind of the way I'm sort of exploring going into work and into sessions is like I'm trying to kind of like purify that. Like I'm trying to just come in and be as creative and a kind of experimental as possible, but without kind of trying to preempt or predict outcome or even like reception or like who might be into this or blah, blah. Like really trying to just be like, if I'm allowing myself to create as near to what I would do in a vacuum as possible. I feel like Brian Eno's oblique strategies or whatever. Like I quite like checking those out every day, and it will say something like, "Play the instrument upside down," and you're like, so stuff like that. So I suppose it's more that like kind of like peak creativity that I'm interested in at the moment.
Okay, and how does that, when you go into either, well, let's just start with the writing process. It sounds like you kind of try to come in as blank slate as possible, or you don't want to come in with any kind of agenda of like, oh, I got to sound like David Byrne or I have to sound like this. How does that go?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. Like, I think no matter what you do as an artist, ultimately you're always going to end up sounding like yourself. So I'm sort of trying to it's sort of like about a lot of acceptance of the limitations of like your voice, for example. Like you can sing in loads of different ways, but people are still going to sort of hear you how they sort of want to hear you. So you can't control that. I think that as a kind of result of that, I have to feel totally unobserved in the studio, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I will go into the studio in the morning sometimes like really nervous because if I finish the session the day before and I know that I've got a blank Pro Tools session in front of me, like it still like gives me the fear, because every writer I think thinks that they'll wake up one day and just be like have nothing left to say or do. But luckily, touch wood, that hasn't happened yet.
I actually heard Keith Richards say that he thinks he's out of music now the other day. So that's funny.
I mean, yeah, if there's anyone who might be out, I think it would be Keith.
So it sounds like you might do this a little differently. Do you just go into a studio and kind of write and record as you go, or do you come in with pre-written stuff? How does that go? The writing process?
Well, like at the moment, I built a studio in my garden, so I just like wake up, have a cup of tea, and then just go down. And the last record I did, the Avalanche, I self-produced it, so I was writing and producing at the same time. Whereas now I'm hoping to use a producer for the next record, so I'm writing much more freely. So if I write something just on a guitar with a drum machine in the background, I'll leave it just as that, because I want someone to kind of help me take the songs to another space. I think self-producing is amazing, and I'm really kind of proud of the fact that I've done that. But I do think it has limitations in terms of doing the songs, in the best way possible, I guess. So yeah, so at the moment I'm just going in. I got like a little electronic drum kit, percussion, bass, guitar, one little synth. I keep it really, really sort of simple, and just start the day with something, and then I just build from there every day. You know.
Okay. And so on the album Avalanche that just came out last year, that's you top to bottom. Did you have any collaborators, or is it all you?
It's literally just me, because it was lockdown, like proper. So we could leave our house like once a day. So I just thought I'd make a record myself, which was really lucky. It's really lucky that I managed to be able to do that, because it meant that I could continue to feel like I was working even when everything was kind of so closed or whatever. So that's great. But I think there are some things already about that record that I think could have been done differently if there had been like a band in the room. um I don't know. I'm not really. I think each record has its own kind of space, but yeah, it's playing those songs with a band on tour this year. I was like, oh, this could have been a totally different record, in in a room, I guess, not just me.
You could always look back on any record you make and say, I feel like everyone we talk to always says, yeah, I wish I could have gone back and done this, but how do for you, what makes your decision to be like, this is like where I'm cutting it off? Because especially in this day and age with all the plugins and little things you can tinker with, whether you're on GarageBand or you have the greatest system ever, you can sit there until the end of time tinkering. So what goes into you being able to say, all right, I got to just call it here?
I guess I'm quite lucky because I'm not very precious. Like, I don't I'm not a perfectionist. I'm quite scruffy. I'm totally cool with that. So for me, it's always been about, is the song doing its job? Like, is it, so if I go in the studio and I'm bouncing around and I feel really frustrated and energetic, and I write something, is that energy has that energy been encapsulated in that sound? But I try not to mess too much. I think messing too much so often, like, just like crushes the spirit. And I think that's what I'm trying to do now. I mean, like you say, like every artist looks back at a record and they're like, blah blah blah, which I actually don't really like doing. But I feel like each record is correcting the mistakes of the previous record in terms of what the artist wants, I guess. So with this record I'm working on, I want it to be loads of space and like one takes, and no digital instruments. It's all like organic instruments, like synths for sure, but like they can't be is it DSTs or whatever, VSTs, or so that's already, even in the demos, making it sound totally different, which is really exciting. Yeah, I think.
So is that kind of part of what you were talking about earlier, kind of keeping it fresh for you, that you're kind of going to a more organic sound? Whereas, Avalanche I just got done listening to it again. It's such a fun album right off the bat, with a lot of energy, as you said. So is that something that you're doing to kind of keep yourself in a creative space?
I'm really glad you said fun, because I think that was like exactly the takeaway I wanted people to have from that record. I had such a good time making it, and I feel like it's really like unself-conscious and just like, and it's super fun live. But yeah, I can't remember your question. Sorry.
You were talking about your, just it sounds like you're in the process of working on a new album. Is that right?
Hmm.
And you were saying you're kind of doing it more organically and with less synth, less, I guess computerized sound.
Yeah.
So is that something that you were alluding to earlier, where you were talking about doing little things to kind of keep your creative process fresh?
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. I think I've always sort of like been really cautious of organic or acoustic instruments ever since I was first starting out, because like as soon as you pick up an acoustic guitar, it's like there's a folk album, and I've never ever seen myself as a folk artist, and it doesn't matter what you do because you still get called folk, and fine, like folk is great, but like that's not how I see what I do. So I've always like kind of pushed it away, and now I feel like I've done enough work, and I'm sort of feeling self assured enough to like Queens of the Stone Age, where some of their heaviest sections are like underpinned by acoustic guitars.
Mhm.
So I was trying to like, so now I'm just trying to take moments where I like pull out all the stuff that, like how synths, and they take up all of that mid-range space, and actually having way, way less stuff. Um, and yeah, I think, a lot of that comes down to kind of confidence and being self-assured, and just starting to try and explore all the instruments that I can play. Um, so yeah, I finally picked up the acoustic guitar again the other day after like 10 years. I mean, literally only for like a percussion kind of thing, but it was a big step.
Yeah, that sounds like you're, speaking of Queens of the Stone Age, I feel like when they do that, it helps build some dramatic moments in their songs. So maybe we can
Hmm.
look forward to some of that on this next album. But I do want to
Hmm.
talk about your album Avalanche. Right off the bat, Down for Fun. I mean, like you said, this is a fun album. Talk about that one a little bit. That just jumps right in and hits you right in the face. And I'm always curious at the first song on an album. Do people purposely put it there? Because I think it's the most important song on an album.
Mm. I think that one was an easy one to pick purely off the intro. And, you like, I mean, obviously, like, I'm a CD generation kid. So I remember putting a CD in my Walkman, and that intro of the album is really important. So it was kind of cool to already have a song that I felt had a quite an exciting um, intro. So that's where it came first. And it was it was actually the last song of the album that I wrote as well. Because I'd like moved back to my hometown, so it was sort of all inspired by all of the kind of complicated feelings that come with that. But yeah, I really sort of wanted to make a record that hits you between the eyes a little bit, and meant that like the live show could sort of take on, like, could go up an energy level, because I really like love um, trying to bring people up in that way. And I love to, as an audience member, be brought up in that way. So that's what I want to deliver live. So it's been cool. Like, there's a few songs on the album now that I'm like uh, kind of live staples, I think, you know.
Where the Bodies Are Buried is definitely my favorite, and I think that one could get people moving. So, um, now let's jump into our song spotlight segment. So, we chose None of My Friends. That was the first song that I heard of yours. I really love it. So kind of take us from beginning to end on that song, where, it wasn't a song and now it is a song.
Okay, well, I mean, it was one of those songs that came to me like really easily, in the sense that, sometimes like you've been writing for like weeks and weeks, and it's all really like stiff and like difficult, and then suddenly I just had a series of like phone calls with my mates, and they were all like completely sucking, and I was like, everybody sucks. And like, so I wrote this song like to, in a kind of, it was the first time I felt like I really kind of got across my sense of humor, and sort of was sort of detailing, I guess, a lot of the kind of tribulations that me and my friends were, going through in our late 20s without detailing it. And, then I got worried. So I like made sure I told all my friends that I loved them. And I was like, I've written this song, like, don't worry, don't be upset. But it was kind of, it really sort of took on its own energy though, when people started to respond to it and be like, this is my jam. But I remember I first sent it to my manager and I was like, hey, I sent you that song. I haven't heard back from you. And he was like, yeah, it's way too depressing for me. I was like, what? But so he didn't love it, but I think he does. I think he gets it now. But yeah, no, it's really lovely to have a song like that people sort of seem to be finding like on their own in their own moments and their own like, and responding really like, I try not to be cynical, and I think that as an artist, like I attract quite uncynical people. So it's sort of like I feel like it's a song that is kind of sending up cynicism, but at the same time has that kind of ironic sense of humor. But I hope that it's still got warmth, and that's what people respond to, is the kind of sense that it's still got like love in it. I guess, I hope.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's, the first time I heard it, I wasn't, I had it on just Spotify and it popped up. And I thought it somehow my Spotify had gotten on like an 80s playlist. Like it's just like Till Tuesday or something playing. Do you have a big 80s, are you a fan of 80s kind of big synth sound?
I mean, not really. More like when I was making Pity Party, it was more like Britpop and kind of like some sort of like kind of grunge, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of more like what I was leaning towards. But the synth stuff, I actually worked with a guy called Andy Savers on this record, on that record, and he kind of helped like pump up the synth elements. It was really cool. But yeah, no, not a lot of 80s. It's a shame, actually. You should send me a playlist.
Well, my wife is a huge 80s fan, so I'll get one
Great.
first.
I'd love to hear it.
Let's you mentioned some live music. Let's talk some live music. Grant's our in-house live music guy.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on it earlier, but like for us, in the United States, we don't know. We've never been to a show. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing you. I mean, like you want to bring people up. Like, tell me more about that. Like, what do you want somebody to feel? I guess you always remember what people say, but also how they make you feel. So, like, how do you want people to feel whenever they come to your show? I mean, what's your vision?
I think that the dream state that I would love for people to experience when they come to one of my shows is one of like total involvement, total like nowness. Like I've been to shows of artists that I love, but because it's very involved or it's very kind of slow or clever, like you find that you're still thinking about the train or the tube or work or and I feel like I want people to come to a show and just be there. Like that's the only place you're thinking of. That would be like if I can start to achieve that, then I feel like then I'm really sort of doing my job, I guess.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, like, what are some of your favorite? I mean, you said you toured a little bit last year. Like, where did you get to go? Did you get to go anywhere new, or like, have you been to some great places recently?
Well, last year was obviously still a bit like hit and miss, but we did the UK festivals, which was great, and then it was a UK tour. But for me, it was like only the second tour I've done with a band, and it was a headline tour with a band. So I was just buzzing off that, and we played some wicked festivals and venues in the UK, which was great. It was just great. I get like a buzz still even thinking about it. Like, but yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll be coming over for South by, and then hopefully after South by, I'll be able to do some more stuff in the US because I toured the US a lot, but it was all with Bombay Bicycle Club, who I was their backup singer. So I've kind of done it, but never done it for me,
Yeah, definitely want to get you going. Get you over here to Atlanta. You got to
I
get you
love
some
that.
places.
Yeah.
Do you have anywhere? Do you have any venues here that you remember from just your other tours? Have you been here before?
Oh yeah. I've been, in fact, I've played in Atlanta a couple of times, but I wouldn't even like remember the venues. But I do remember we had a good time. In fact, I went like clubbing in Atlanta. It was great. It was
Oh,
really good. I had a good night out. Um, but no, I mean, I'm really lucky. I mean, me and Bombay, we did like 3 6 week tours. So we've done like the up and up and down and up and down, um, which is pretty crazy, really.
very cool.
But yeah,
What I kind of also, I usually transition the live piece to the video. So I mean, I was here with one of my buddies. I was like, hey, like, I want to watch a few of these videos, and we turned on Time for Fun, and we got lobsters running around dancing. So I mean, you
yeah.
gotta you gotta expound upon that a little bit more. I mean, it certainly looked like a good time. So tell me about the lobsters. Why is everyone dancing in costumes?
I guess like I was trying to find a visual representation of the kind of awkwardness of being a teenager, and the kids, they were great because you got these really lovely kids who are like into drama and like want to kind of go into theater and stuff, and I'm like, do you want to be in a music video? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you mind if you're dressed as a lobster? And they're like, luckily they were all completely up for it. But they were like, when they were dancing on this like Chinese pagoda, and tourists, like I live in quite a touristy town. It's where Shakespeare is from. So you got all these tourists going past, like, is it a play? Is it a production? I'm like, no. um, but yeah, it's just again, it's like that sense of humor, like that sense of fun, and just people kind of liberating themselves from their uh, metaphorical claws.
I like that. The other video that jumps out to me, I mean, California Screaming. I mean, we're talking about we're murdering all these poor
Yeah.
creatures in this cartoon video. It just
Yeah.
takes such a dark turn. What about like how'd you make that? I mean, like we talked to a lot of artists, and they say like they've got awesome friends. So like who helped you with that? Did you design that yourself or?
No, I didn't do it. Like, you know what? It sounds terrible. I can't remember the kids who did it, but they were like, I think they were students. They were like animation students. And we'd kind of put out that we were looking for this animation for this song that had this kind of particularly like fatalistic, um, kind of anxiety vibe. And they worked so hard on that video, honestly. And it's just, again, like it's supposed to be funny, um and sort of, yeah, even though the song is about kind of completely losing your marbles. um but yeah, I feel bad that I can't give him a shout out because it was quite, I don't know, you know what it's like.
Hey,
Yeah.
I love the video. It was such a cool concept. And so like, what was your why'd you guys choose those particular situations? You got ice cream, you got your cereal, you got the snail. Like what about those things where it's like, all right, hey, like we're gonna do
I think a
so,
couple of them were are like in a couple of them started with like lyrics from the song, like the sense of like an alarm going off, and then they were trying to pick out the images. But it was all about things kind of reaching their demise. So that was like the brief. It was like, so that's why a snail gets stepped on, a cigarette gets put out,
yeah,
the cereal gets eaten. So it's the end point of all of these objects was the kind of this kind of arc or whatever, because
yeah.
the song is sort of about thinking you're going to die all the time, I guess.
That's awesome. Well, I loved it. But and it's funny you had mentioned Caleb Bond earlier, and I like that kind of went off in my head. Jenny Lawless, one of our artists we interviewed in from California, she was really into sad dudes. So Caleb Bond's Abu's an album. So she had
Cool.
highly recommended that. So I knew we have a good I knew we have a good ecosystem of
Yeah, totally.
people who got good taste. So, but I want to hop in Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. This will be
Okay.
probably the most interesting thing you do all day. I don't know, maybe we'll see.
All right.
I don't know if you're running around in a lobster costume, though. I think you might have it beat. But all right, we'll go. It's rapid fire, so it's either this or that. And there's some yes or no questions in here too. So, but all right, Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. 20 questions right in a row. Liz Lawrence, here we go. Cake or pie? Cake or pie?
Pie.
Summer or winter?
Summer for lip.
All right. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
All right. Salad or a soup?
Salad.
All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise in the winter, sunset in the summer.
Okay. We got a little seasonality to it here. All right. Would you rather have a night in or a night out?
Night out right now, definitely.
Okay. Have you ever heard of circus peanuts? They're these orange peanuts that you can buy. They're marshmallows. They're like one of the best candies in the world, I would say. Have you heard of those? Have you seen them?
I don't think I've ever. No, I'm unfamiliar.
All right. Do yourself a favor. Next time you're in a gas station in the South, down here in Atlanta, or down here in the U.S., you're gonna have to.
Okay.
You'll have to get some. Anyway.
Circus peanuts.
Circus peanuts. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can look them up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now I'm gonna make it right. This is crisp or pretzels. So I'm gonna put it in proper English for you. Crisp.
Very good.
Or pretzels.
Very good. Yeah, crisps. Yeah.
You like crisp better than pretzels? All right. All right. Red wine or white wine?
Red wine.
All right, red wine. Are aliens real?
Yes, because it's too sad to think that they're not.
Okay, I like that. Ninja or a pirate? What would you rather be?
Ninja.
Okay, all right. Stalking around. All right. Chicken tenders or chicken wings?
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so like.
So veggie wings or veggie nuggets?
Wings, yeah,
wings?
definitely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Is love at first sight real?
Yes.
It is? Okay. Bars or clubs? What do you like better?
Bars.
All right. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. I got my dog just there. I can't say cats, else she'll be really sad.
All right. Bagels or donuts?
Bagels.
Bagels. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When you walk into a party and you hear your jam come on, are you more likely to do the worm or the robot?
Definitely the robot. Like 100%. Yeah.
You're not running out. You're not getting on the floor doing the worm. All right. Okay. All right. Bigfoot or Sasquatch or the abominable snowman. Any way you want to slice it. Is that person real or not?
Yeah, let's say yeah. Why not? Just to
right.
keep things exciting.
All right, I'm gonna throw one to you as well that I realized when we crossed the pond, it makes more sense. Loch Ness Monster, is that rolling around in Scotland?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Okay.
No way.
All right. And do you like your beer colder or room temp?
Really cold.
Really cold.
Super cold. Mm-hmm.
Man, you should probably move then. I hear in London, over in the UK, they serve it room temp.
Yeah, they do the ale, but they do like Guinness extra cold, and my dad just is furious. He's furious about this extra cold vibe. It's all better. Yeah, I just put mine in the freezer. You know.
I like it. So our final question of Pete Peterson's party pack of questions, which you absolutely murdered it. Bands that we might not know that we should check out. Some of your friends, some people we definitely need to look into.
Okay, well, the first person who just came to my mind is my mate C-Matt, who's an Irish. She's an Irish country singer, but she's spicy as anything, and you should definitely check her out. Her album's coming out soon. And then actually, my friend Orlando Weeks, his album just came out last week. Now he's called Hop Up, which is definitely worth checking out. Those are two really cool, great British artists, although CMAT's Irish, so I definitely have to say Irish and British artists.
Gotcha. CMAT, is that SEEMAT?
Yeah, just CMAT.
CMAT. I like that. Very cool. Tash, I'm going to toss it up to you so we can wrap this thing up in a little bow and get going.
Yeah, that was a great Pete Peterson. Liz, it's been a pleasure having you on here. We've had a great time. Everyone else that's out there listening, go check out her album, The Avalanche, and also her live album at the Broodnell Social Club, streaming everywhere. And hopefully we can get you over to the United States of America. And
yeah, man.
And
Fingers crossed.
And Grant
Thank
and
you
I'll
very
come
much.
front row and scream at you, and it'll be a great time.
Wicked. No, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cool.